Hello and welcome, my name's Ollie43 and you're watching a video all about GTA 5 on the PC. This is a performance review where we're going to be taking a look at the graphics settings and how the game performs. We're also going to be comparing it to the previous generation of the game, and I'm also going to be giving you guys a few tips so you guys can get the best out of your current setup for playing GTA 5 on the PC. Now, I've been doing a bit of research and I'm pretty sure that I've got a fairly good idea on this game, and I can let you guys know about its shortfalls and its good points as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, remember to leave this video a like, as it supports the video and the channel and helps it get seen by other people. So if you think the video deserves to be seen by other people, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any content in the future and you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, as we've got lots of content coming. So yeah, this is a performance review for GTA 5 on the PC, and let's get started. So if you're only interested in a bread and butter review of the performance of this game, I know a lot of people don't want to wait to the end and they don't care about optimizing the game. They just want to hear, is it good enough for me to spend money on? Well, if you've got a moderately decent gaming setup, and I'm talking a quad-core processor with a dedicated graphics card, you're probably going to be fine playing this game. In how it compares to the console versions of the game, it's not going to look much better than the console versions of the game. However, you will be getting the 60 frames per second, which is really, really nice. So it depends what sort of fence you fall under, whether you care about FPS or whether you just care if it looks good. If you only care about how it looks and you're not bothered about FPS, I would recommend picking this up on the consoles. But if you're an enthusiast frames per second like myself, then I would recommend checking it out on the PC and seeing if your system's up to snuff. Now, by the way, if you guys want to leave your specs down below, I'm sure Team 43 will help you guys out and let you know if your system's up to standard. A lot of people have been doing that on my videos, and a lot of people have been replying and saying, yeah, your system sounds good enough, or no, it doesn't sound quite good enough. So if you want some help, be sure to get in that comment section and we'll see what we can do. Now, just so you guys know my settings whilst I was recording this video, and this setup, by the way, shows you the shortfalls of the game, which I'll get to later on. But just to go over you, these are pretty good settings. They're not bad. FXAA turn off, MSAA ×2. I've actually turned off VSync just for the purpose of getting the frame rate over the 60. Texture quality high, shadow shader quality very high. There's a couple of things here. Grass quality I've got on high and particle on normal. I'm going to be really touching on them later on, so those are really important sections to look at and take notice of. But yeah, these are the settings I'm using whilst recording. In terms of advanced graphics, in all honesty, I would actually turn off high-resolution shadows and long shadows, and I'd actually turn down the extended distance scaling all the way down, because it makes, as I can see, zero difference and impact to gameplay and the visual quality of the game. So just a couple of things to keep in mind. Those are the settings I'm using to record gameplay in this video, and yeah, you should probably take that away with you whilst watching the critique of this game. But what about this game? Is it actually any good? Well, like I mentioned before, the frames per second's really, really good. The draw distance is a hell of a lot better than it is on consoles. But actually, the best thing about this game is how good it is on so many ranges of systems. It doesn't really matter if you've got an SLI setup or you've got a single graphics card. I'm only running a Titan Black Edition. I don't have an SLI setup. I've got a fairly moderately good processor, but, you know, I'm not running dual 980s. I haven't got the best current setup available on the market. I have an enthusiast system, but I've had a lot of people say that that doesn't really matter with this game. It's actually fairly well optimized for a lot of different systems at different performance levels, which in comparison to GTA 4 when that launched, it's a hell of a lot better, and it's a great start, because I'm sure Rockstar will optimize the game, make refinements, but as a release version, it works really, really well, and just in general, it is not many bad things to say about this game. There are a few, and I'll touch upon them a little bit later on in the video, but just generally, this game is really well suited to multiple ranges of systems, and it doesn't require a huge system with, you know, dual 980s, so yeah, it's really, really good. So just to give you an idea on the frames per second, right now I'm flying one of the jets in the game called the Hydra. It's actually one of the newly DLC released pieces of content on console versions, and I'm going to be flying through the city at night where there's lots of light shadows, light reflections. There's still a lot of NPCs around driving around, and I'm flying at a high speed. So you would imagine this is where the game's going to start to stutter in frame rate. Busy city center, that's where the game's going to struggle. And it's where I assume the game will struggle. Well, actually, the surprising thing about this game is it actually performs incredibly well in the city centers, where there's people around, where there's buildings, and just generally. At the moment, you can't see it on YouTube because YouTube doesn't support more than 60 frames per second upload. But I'm actually playing at around 70 to 80 frames per second with some really high settings, which I'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, I'm flying at high speed, I'm doing tricks, you would expect the game to struggle here and dip below 60, but it seems to be absolutely fine, no problems. But where the game struggles is actually in remote areas with a lot of foliage, which is interesting because earlier on the console versions, one of the things that they said was new about the updated console versions was the foliage. And this makes a lot of sense now, because when you go into highly rural areas with a lot of grass, with a lot of trees, the game actually loses about 20 frames per second, at least it does on my system. So what you're seeing here is me driving around this kind of woodland area. It's north of the map, and I'm currently running at around 40 frames per second whilst recording in 1080p and all the rest of it, so it's not normal conditions. But what I will show you is what happens when I drive over to the beach not too far away. So as you can see, there's the beach like not even 20 meters away from me, so I'm actually going to drive there, and we're not far away from the foliage. It's not far at all. But in the space that I've just driven, I've actually picked up, and I'm actually currently running at around 100 frames per second. So that's at least double than I was back here. And now, as soon as I go where there's lots of grass, trees, I'm now back at around 50 to 40 frames per second. And this is consistent all over the map. It doesn't matter if you're on Mount Chiliad or you're in Los Santos near one of the rural areas to the left of the city. There's a lot of issues with grass and foliage in this game, and it is really demanding on your system. Now, there are ways to actually combat this and reduce the impact entirely, and there are kind of two ways you can do this as far as I can tell. Number one is just to turn the grass quality down as well as the particle effects, because there's a lot of pollen effects and kind of dust particles, and it looks pretty and when you take a screenshot and whatnot, but it really does impact the game's frame rate. So what I've done here, I'm actually running the game on the same settings as I will be in a minute, but the thing I've changed is grass quality, and I've turned it down all the way to normal, opposed to high, which you saw just a few seconds ago. So what you're going to see is quite a kind of mid-console version of the game. So it's kind of between the previous generation of console and the current generation of consoles. And the interesting thing here is it actually kind of looks quite bad without all the grass, but it does really, really reduce the frame rate impact. Now, like I said, there are ways you can change this, but just to give you guys an idea, this is running at around 60 frames per second, no problem, but you're actually missing out on grass here. Normally, which I'll show you in a minute, you're going to see a lack of grass, and it's really going to become apparent when I show you what it's like when you don't see the grass. But this is one potential way you can reduce the frame rate impact. All the other settings like texture quality, lighting effects, bounce lighting effects, all of those things are exactly the same, but I'm saving myself 20 to 30 frames purely in rural areas. So it's really, really useful little tip if you don't want to do the settings, which I'll suggest in just a moment. So this is the game running at around 40 to 50 frames per second with grass detail on high. Same settings as the clip you just saw a few seconds ago, but now I've turned the graphics settings onto high, and you can really tell there's a lot more foliage. It looks a lot nicer. You can kind of choose on whether or not you think the grass is kind of worth the frame rate if you don't want to make the changes that I'm going to suggest in a moment. But this is just to show you what you're missing out on when you turn the settings down. So currently everything you've seen in this video has been running with FXAA turned off and MSAA turned to ×2. But actually, the solution to this foliage problem, I can leave it on very, very high, and it makes absolutely no difference to the performance, is by turning FXAA on and turning MSAA off. It actually seems to be creating quite a substantial hit around grass. I don't know why. It's absolutely fine in the city center, and is moderately better than FXAA. But if honestly, I can't really tell too much of a difference between FXAA and MSAA. And if you don't know what those technologies are, you can look it up on forums. But basically, it's a type of anti-aliasing, and MSAA is typically better for image quality. But in this case, for whatever reason, the demand around Foliage for MSAA is way like over the top than it should be in comparison to FXAA, which is a different type of anti-aliasing, which allows you to run grass at a really high frame rate and just look absolutely delightful. So, in conclusion, fellas, if you like looking at your grass in-game, I would turn on FXAA and turn off MSAA, unless you have a more powerful system than me. But honestly, either turn off grass altogether and leave MSAA on and have a slightly better image quality, or turn on FXAA and leave the grass detail on high. It's kind of up to you guys, but in general, in conclusion, if you like, this game runs beautifully, just not 100% optimized around foliage and rural areas, but that's something you guys need to keep in mind. I hope this guide was useful to you. Like I said at the start of the video, if you think it was and you think other people would want to see it, then give the video a like, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, bye-bye.